Hello, and welcome back to Acting Like an Actor. I'm your host, Sophie Jordan Collins, and today we are joined by the lovely Liz Mina. Liz is an actress, comedian, and content creator based in Los Angeles. You can spot her in films such as Thelma and Weezy and shows such as Holding Tight. She also voices Emma in the podcast series Who Killed Alaska. We chat about how to start doing stand-up, using TikTok as an actor, and how to stop caring what others think. Here's the lovely Liz Mina.
Are you rich?
Are you famous?
What have you been on?
I don't really recognize you, and neither does my mom.
Can you laugh?
Can you cry on command?
I mean, you said you were an actor, man.
What's your backup plan? Is it shattered?
Dude, I'm just acting like an actor.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Acting Like an Actor. Today we are here with the lovely Liz Mina.
Hi.
And so, Liz, how did you get here?
Oh my God. I mean, so I'm from here. I'm from LA. And I was actually telling somebody the other day, it's impossible to be from LA and not have at least tried acting once. Like, you could talk to any, like, finance guy, any banker, and they will tell you that they did the school play when they were 5. All of us try it at least once. Some of us lose the love for it, and for some of us, we never ever, like, quote unquote, grow out of it. I never ever grew out of it. It's something I've been doing since I was 5 years old, and I genuinely cannot imagine my life without it.
So, when you say you're doing it your whole life, were you doing theater? Were you doing film stuff when you were younger? What was that like?
So I had such a brief, I want to say it was maybe a year or two of my life where I did try to pursue it professionally as a child actor, something that my dad was helping me out with a lot. And I can't even remember why we stopped. It might have been me. It was around when I was like maybe between the ages of 7 and 9. And maybe I was the one who decided I wanted to stop, or maybe it was my parents. I don't even remember. But I had a brief period of auditioning for like commercials and shorts and things like that as a kid. And when I stopped doing that, it was mostly school theater. And then I ended up going to college for film. And then after that is when I started pursuing it fully professionally as an adult.
Okay, so in college, was your major film, or was it something more specific?
So it was called television, radio, and film at Syracuse University.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Where's Syracuse University?
Upstate New York.
So did you move there to go to college? Were you living on campus?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
living on campus for 3.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did TRF it was all like behind the scenes. So I actually didn't do any acting in college besides like one play that I did there.
Okay, and was that on purpose? Did you know you wanted to be an actor, or did you think you wanted to do something behind the camera?
So I was curious about behind the camera roles. I had never really tried it before, but specifically the reason why I wanted to do something that was actually not related to acting, being in front of the camera, was I feel like acting programs at universities can be kind of a bubble. Especially at Syracuse, the acting building is literally a 10-minute bus ride off campus. It's like the only building off of campus because that's where the stage is. And the acting students all just sort of hung out with each other and they did their own thing. And like, I feel like as an actor, you know, like it's important to not have that be your life. It can't all be acting. Your friends cannot all be actors. Like, you need to learn about different people, different life experiences. So that's why I wanted to do film specifically. Because in my head, I was like, well, I can just take acting classes after I graduate in LA, where Hollywood is, you know?
A lot of college theater programs are also not great, I feel like. You almost can learn more in just regular acting classes as opposed to dropping all that money.
Yeah, I didn't, like, if I had wanted to be an like acting major, I definitely would have applied to a completely different set of schools. Like, I never auditioned for anything. It was all just, I was applying to film programs. But it's hard. I feel like so much of acting is about finding the right teacher. And in college, when you kind of don't get to pick your teacher, like, I don't really know how that worked. Were you in acting school?
I dropped out of acting college,
Okay.
for that reason, because I
Yeah.
felt like I wasn't learning a lot of quality stuff. And I feel like at most universities, unless you're going to like NYU or Juilliard,
Yeah.
a lot of the university teachers are just like people who went to that university, maybe have like a co-star or guest star under their belt, but you're not even usually learning from like working actors. It's just like people who graduated the theater program at that college, and it's like, Yeah, and like you said, it is about finding the right acting teacher. And I also believe in taking like classes from many teachers and just like picking out what works for you.
Yeah, completely.
But yeah, so were you doing any acting at all, like just casually or on the side while you were in college, or no?
I did one school play. I don't
Okay.
even, at this point, I don't even remember what the play was. It was an older play, probably from like the 70s, maybe. And I did that just for fun, and it was so fun. Definitely confirmed that, I still want to be an actor, because at that point I hadn't done it for so long. So I'm really glad I got to do that. And then after that, I really started pursuing it. I did my last semester. We have like a study abroad for the film program in LA. So I moved back here, and actually during my last semester of college, that's when I met you at our acting school, our old acting school, and that's when I started pursuing it professionally right before I graduated.
Okay, so you were still in college. I was wondering, during COVID. What year did you graduate?
So I got lucky. I graduated December 2019, one semester
Okay.
early. I was supposed to graduate in spring of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy. So you moved back to LA.
Mhm.
Did you have an agent still, or what was that process like?
So I actually didn't get my first theatrical agent until maybe, I think it was a year ago. It's almost a year at this point.
Oh, wow.
When I first started, 3 years ago, almost 4.
Mm-hmm.
It was all me self-submitting on Actors Access, Backstage, and casting networks. And my first agent in general was a commercial agent. It took me maybe a year to get that commercial agent. Overall, it wasn't the most positive experience. Nothing terrible, but it just wasn't a right fit. But to get that theatrical agent, it took about 2.5 years.
Okay, cool. I want to pivot a little bit. So something else that Liz does is she's a stand-up comedian.
Yes.
And you were already in the thick of that when I met you in
Yes.
acting class. She was
Yeah.
already like a working stand-up comedian doing shows. And this was 2 years ago at this point, at
Yeah.
least. So
Yeah.
when did you start doing stand-up? How did you start doing stand-up? What was that process like?
Well, I actually started doing stand-up during the pandemic on Zoom. It was the first open mics I had went to were on Zoom. The first shows I did, all of them on Zoom, which was such an interesting way to get into it, because Zoom is a very different environment for comedy. So I just didn't know anything else, so I didn't really think anything of it. But I just really stuck with it, and post-pandemic is when I started doing all of my like in-person shows. And I just got into it because it was something I kind of always wanted to try. And during the pandemic, we weren't shooting anything at first. We weren't really doing anything. So I was like, this feels like a great time to maybe write a couple minutes of stand-up.
So fun. Okay. And then from doing it on Zoom, how did you move to doing it in person? How does that process even work? Like when you're doing these comedy shows, do you have to submit yourself to them? Do people come to you? What's that process like?
So really, there are a few developmental comedy clubs in LA, and what that means is basically you can go and audition for them, and they are very, very open to taking new green comedians. That's like part of their whole thing is the audience gets to see some fresh acts. You get to work on your stand-up, on your act, and of course the caveat is you're not getting paid. But when you're working on your craft, it's like, it's very low stakes. Let's say you bomb, they're not going to be mad at you. You're not getting paid. And that's very helpful. It's a little lower pressure for you. You're kind of feeling out, how you are like on a stage. So that's what I did. There's a club in LA. It's called Flappers Comedy Club. Big developmental club here. It's probably the biggest one. And I auditioned for them on Zoom. And those were all the shows I was doing over the pandemic, was Flappers shows. And then once we transitioned back into in-person, I was still on their roster, and they just start emailing you and booking you for shows.
Cool. Okay. And to this day, are you still doing stand-up, or where are you kind of at in that world right now?
I do it a little less than I used to. It was really a focus for me for such a long time. But recently what I kind of discovered is I find it to be sometimes a little lonely in terms of creating. I love the feeling of being on a set and creating with so many people.
Yeah.
It's so fun. I thought that I would love stand-up more. I really did. But even though I still like it, I almost consider it more of a hobby for me. But acting is still my number one passion.
Okay, I love that. That's
Yeah.
so beautiful. I did another interview and we were talking about how a lot of us as actors, our favorite part of the industry really is that collaboration.
Yeah.
And it's like a bunch of these random people all coming together to create this beautiful project.
Yeah.
I'd never thought about that, how stand-up could be lonely, but I can totally
Yeah.
see that because it's just you. It's your
Yeah.
writing, your work, it's just you up there. Do you find a little bit of collaboration maybe from the audience and like involving them, or?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like, what's great about stand-up is the immediate feedback. If a joke's not funny, you know, immediately right away. That I think is so cool, as opposed to acting, where it's like all of your trust is in the director. If the director is saying you're doing well, they like the direction you're going in, you kind of just have to trust that. Even though you know maybe it won't be well received by the audience, but you just have to put all your trust in them. With you as a stand-up, you know immediately whether or not what you're doing is good. And I do really like that aspect. But what's lonely about it for me is it's like what you said, you know, it's kind of just me writing in my room. And the collaboration you get is really from other comedians, I find.
Okay.
Yeah, so I joined this group maybe 2 years ago at this point. It's called Pretty Funny Women. And it's a collective of female comedians. The leader, her name is Lisa Sunstead. She has been a working comedian for, I mean, decades. And she's been an LA staple for such a long time. And it's basically a weekly, you sign up for it like a class, and you show up weekly, and she kind of goes over, you know, what the main thing that we're going to work on this week is, and you all pitch your jokes to each other, and you collaborate and you workshop, and by the end of that session you usually have a solid 5 minutes that you then perform at a club. Those kinds of things are very cool. It's very similar to like a writer's club where you show up and you read the new chapter of your book. Very similar format.
Can you talk to us a little bit about if you ever found it challenging to be a female comedian?
Yeah, it's very interesting. In terms of audience reception, I'm very lucky where I've never had a bad experience with like catcalling from the audience or anything like that. I've never had a creepy host of a show, which is definitely like, it's not the norm. Like, I know that happens. I'm just very lucky I haven't dealt with that. Really, the biggest trouble that I have is like often being the only female comedian on a lineup, of course. And then also as a female comedian, there's a lot more that you need to pay attention to, like how you dress on stage. Like, if you dress more revealing, maybe they're not really going to be paying attention to your jokes, or they're going to perceive you a certain way. Having to be mindful of that, but then of course you still have to look pretty. You can't go up there not looking pretty. They're not going to take you seriously. It's all of that really factors into it. That's, I think, where the struggle comes from.
Do you find that doing stand-up has helped your acting? And if so, how?
That's so interesting. I've never thought about that. I think really what it is it's just made me feel a lot more confident in my comedy. That's what it is. Because the directors that I work with, they usually know I do stand-up. I have a stand-up clip on my profiles. They see it. So really coming on and knowing, like, I know I'm funny, they know I'm funny. There's faith in that I have in me and that they have in me. I think in that way that's really helped just my confidence, and just knowing, like, listen, if I can be up there on a stage for 10 minutes alone, I can handle being on set in front of, 10 people on a short or 20 people on a bigger shoot. Like, I can handle that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that is so vulnerable. The acting class we met at, he actually had me do stand-up solely to build that kind of muscle of
Really?
of just getting out of your comfort zone and doing something that's not necessarily normal to you, which I feel like that aspect of stand-up can be very beneficial.
Yeah.
I hated it, but I felt the same way. I was like, if I can go up there and do this thing by myself, I can do anything.
Yeah. Oh my God, I wish I had been there for that. I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
Yeah. It's one of those things you immediately know you love it, or you immediately know you hate it. Yeah.
No, not for me. Too vulnerable. I like acting because you're playing a character and it's not you. It's so much more vulnerable. Even this stuff I always find more vulnerable than playing a character because it's you. You know?
Totally.
So I'm curious, people, they know you do stand up, they know you're funny. Do you feel like that has held you back from dramatic roles? Or I'm curious, like, so when you were younger and you were doing acting, were you always leaning more towards comedy, or did that happen later in life?
I think when I was younger, I want to say there was a good mix because I think when you're younger, you know, people just kind of want to see what you can do. I think with young actors, like kids, you know, like in school or even when you're trying to, you know, pursue acting as a child actor, I think it's just kind of about throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. I do think now though, I definitely feel held back when it comes to dramatic roles. Absolutely. I've been told I have a very, it's a compliment, but I've been told I have a very like funny disposition. And I've been told that I'm very good at making something that wouldn't seem funny be funny. But then I think that aspect of me is what holds me back from dramatic roles because I very unintentionally make them a little funny. Yeah.
And do you have a desire to do those like intense dramatic roles or not really? Or would you like that?
I do. I would
Okay.
love that. It's just something that I don't get to do a lot. It's something very challenging. Like, am I ready to be like the lead in a really intense historical drama with Daniel Day-Lewis? No, I'm not. But it's something that I think would be so cool to do. I mean, how many times do we see comedians venture into those dramatic roles? All the time. Like Jenny Slate is such a good example of that. She's so funny, but when she goes into doing a drama, she's like a completely new person. You would never think that she's a comedian. So, I mean, that kind of thing for me, I find that very aspirational.
Yeah. Okay, I want to pivot a little bit, Liz. So you have a day job. Correct?
Yes, yeah.
Do you want to talk to us about balancing that day job while still being an actor, or kind of what that has been like?
Yeah, so I have a day job in software sales. The position, it's called business development representative. It's an entry-level software sales position. And I've been doing it for a year. And I actually went to that job from retail, from like a very traditional actor day job as a store manager. And the reason why I went to that job is because I realized that for me, when I had an audition or a meeting or something, it was such a hassle to call out of work, get somebody to fill in for me, and maybe I can't do that. I have to reschedule my meeting, things like that. Whereas my friends who had corporate jobs who worked from home were like at Target in the middle of the day, or they were taking a nap on the couch. I was like, clearly this is more flexible. So I started applying to a ton of corporate jobs, and ever since I became a BDR, like I have more time to work on my auditions. I can take meetings whenever I want. Like I just have more time to even relax, like to prep for my auditions. Like it's been such a great pivot for me. So now when I meet actors who are looking for a day job, I'm like, look into work from home jobs, because not only that, but you're going to be getting paid so much better, you know?
Yeah. So is it a full-time like salary position, or what does that look like? It
Yeah,
is.
full-time salary position, but when you're working from home, nobody's really on you. It's not like you're in an office where your boss is coming in to check on you. Like when I get on an audition, if it's a quick turnaround, I can stop working for a bit, work on the audition, and then come back, finish my day, as opposed to like if I was at the store and I got in an audition, I wouldn't get home until 7 p.m., would have to shoot all night because I have to be up at 7 for work the next day. With corporate work from home jobs, it's just so much more flexible.
Do you find it less draining as well? Because I feel like when you're working in retail, you're on your feet all day and you have to make that drive and all the things. Is it less draining being at home?
Definitely less draining, especially physically. I mean, it's like you're right, you're on your feet all day. You're working weekends and holidays, which is such a bummer. Like at home, I'm sitting, I have my AC, I have the computer, like it's just so much more relaxing. So that like, because you know, we all know that feeling of like you just worked like an 8-hour shift, like standing on your feet, and then you get sent an audition and it's due tomorrow morning, and now you have to go home and stand up even more, set up the lights. It's so exhausting. Now I don't have that, and now I feel so much more joy in taking time with my auditions because I'm just so much more well rested.
Yeah. Okay, so something you recently did, I believe it said 2021, you wrote and executive produced a short called Bikini Body.
Yes, I did.
Do you want to talk to us a little bit about what that process was like?
Yeah, I mean, what an insane, intense process it is to produce even a short film. This film is like less than 10 minutes, and it is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
It's still not finished. It's been 2 years. It was so rewarding and so fun, but easily the most stressful experience of my life. Like, I'm definitely not ready to do the next one yet. Really, what it is it was the actual writing part was very fun for me. Writing the screenplay was very fun. What was stressful is just really, like, being the producing aspect of it. You have to find your locations and budgets. I mean, things start adding up very, very quickly. You have to think on your feet, think about how you can cut costs, making sure everything goes smoothly on the day. So, Bikini Body, just very briefly, it's really about my experience with disordered eating. And it's basically, the short synopsis is, it's about a girl who gets invited to a pool party and she doesn't want to put on a bikini. She's very, very scared, and she's psyching herself up to put on this bikini. And because it was a pool party, it's an outdoor shoot. I shot it at my parents' house. It was October. The shoot got a little delayed because of SAG contract things. And we showed up. The weather had been perfect that week. We show up 6 a.m. to my parents' house. It's raining. It's fully drizzling. It's gloomy. It could not pass for summer in your wildest dreams. It was cold. We all had to be in bathing suits. I mean, I even just felt so bad for my extras. Like, it was so terrible. And dealing with that kind of stuff as a producer, physically sickening. I mean, really makes your stomach turn because you're so nervous. You have all of this pressure on you. But then at the end of the day, when we wrapped, I was like, that was awesome. That was so fun. Like, and I would do it again. I'm just not ready yet. But overall, a very rewarding experience. And I would recommend every actor just try it at least once. It doesn't have to be high budget. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. You could do it with your phone.
Yeah. Did you act in the short as well?
I was the lead in the short.
Okay, so you wrote it, you were the lead in it, and you produced it.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that. I was smart enough not to direct it. I did not direct it. I have a friend named Caroline McGuire. She is extremely talented. I had seen I want to say she wrote and directed a web series with one of our other friends from college. I had seen a few episodes and I was like, wow, this is really well directed. So I at the time, I hadn't talked to her in so long, and I just messaged her. I was like, I wrote this. Would you be interested in directing it? And she did, and I'm very glad that I did not direct that project. I don't think I'm a strong enough actually actor yet to direct myself. I think that's very challenging. I didn't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It truly blows my mind when people direct and act in something.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you do. Plus, that's like such a big task switch to me, from going behind the camera and seeing this shot to then being in front of it. But people do it. Hats off to them. Producing and acting and writing, though, that's a lot. That's awesome, though. And I'm sure that was so rewarding to see the... Where is it at right now in terms of post? Is it being edited or what?
So we have the rough cut done. Okay. Right now, what we need to do is there's a few little green screen effects that we have to do, and then sound mixing and music, and then it's done.
Okay, so almost. That's really exciting.
Yeah. I mean, luckily, the reason why it's not done yet is because the editor is, remember Devin Brochu?
Yeah.
He's editing it.
Oh, cool.
And he keeps booking. So great reason for it not to be done. And then, we both see our family. So all good stuff, good life things happening. And that's the reason why it's not done.
Okay,
yet.
good.
Yeah.
There's no huge error that needs to be solved or anything.
No. Luckily, it's because there are great professional developments.
Yeah, that's good. I want to make another little pivot. So we all know this cool thing called TikTok has popped up over the last couple of years. And Liz didn't dabble in it right when it came out, but very recently, as of this year, I think you started using TikTok, and her growth has been quite exponential, if you ask me. So do you want to chat with us a little bit about what that's been like?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I resisted for so long. But as actors, the first thing that an agent or manager asks you is, how many followers do you have? I hate that it's the first question. I wish it was more about the acting and the training, but that's just the industry right now. They care and it matters. Mm-hmm. And I just got so sick of saying I have basically none. I just really decided it was time for me to do something about it. And as opposed to just complaining like, oh, it shouldn't be about social media, blah, 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 I was like, let me just actually give this a shot and see what can come of it. And I started making videos. I think it was end of 2022, maybe in October. But I didn't start taking it seriously until January or February of this year, 2023. And I find it so rewarding. It's so fun. I never ever expected to love it this much. I talk about dating and relationships, and I also do some vlogs as well. And I cannot imagine my life without it now.
Yeah, it's so fun. Her videos are so good. Her dating advice is so great.
Thank
but
you.
she also does these very cute, like, working actor day in the lives as well. We'll definitely link her TikTok below. But I'm curious, do you have any advice for any actors who maybe want to start using social media? Do you have advice about how to go about that, how to make it not so daunting, anything like that?
Yeah. So what's great for us is we already have the skill set that we need to be successful in social media. We're comfortable in front of the camera. We're usually very well-spoken people. We have very strong ideas. We're very creative. Really, what you need to do with social media is you need to adopt the same attitude that you have around acting and just apply it to social media. So the same way that we hear from all of our teachers and acting coaches is acting is a business and the business is you and your talent. Same thing with social media. As soon as you decide you want to start, you literally, if you have 0 followers, you immediately need to start treating it as a business. And you need to be professional about it and market yourself the same way you market your acting materials. So my advice would be, it's the same advice you hear with social media. If you decide you want to start today. But it's true. Start right now, post a video. And the reason why I say that is not just so you can already get started growing followers, but it's because your first maybe 100 videos are going to be bad. They're going to be bad. You don't know anything about what you're doing. And the sooner you can learn how to be better and make better content, the sooner you're going to really see those results and see those numbers grow.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I always tell people too, no business, no creative endeavor is ever going to be perfect when you launch it. So you might as well just launch it and revise as you go, because you can try to think through every problem. You're not going to think through all the problems. You need to just launch it. Problems are going to come up and then fix it and resolve it. I'm curious too, how long did it take for you to start seeing growth, would you say? Was it a very rapid thing, or did it take a minute of you kind of figuring out what worked, things like that?
Yeah, it definitely took, I would say, to get my first 1,000 followers, it maybe took like 4 or 5 months of very consistent posting, 12 times a week, twice a day, Monday to Friday, once a day, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
And a big part of that was really figuring out my niche. That kind of takes a while. When I first started, I thought my videos were going to be about makeup and fashion. And totally different than what I do. I thought I was going to be a makeup girl doing tutorials and fashion hauls and things like that. And then in January, I made one video called like my dating resolutions. And I was like, these are all the things I'm not going to do with dating in 2023. And that blew up. It got like 100,000 views. And I was like, oh, maybe dating is my thing. And then I was like, let me just try making some more videos. And I just made some dating tip videos. All of those were blowing up. Meanwhile, my makeup and fashion videos just weren't doing that well. So I just made a complete pivot. I was like, oh, I'm a dating creator now. And as I started to make those videos, my followers were just going up and up in the hundreds. And then when I was at about 3,500 followers, my boyfriend broke up with me and I made a video about it and it got 9 million views. It went crazy, like more than I could have ever imagined.
Thank you for breaking my heart, man.
I'm so happy. I literally would not change anything for the world. It was crazy. And just like that, it became my side hustle. And it's still a side hustle today. And I've just seen so much growth since then. Like, it's something that I'm making some money from. And it's something I can really see just growing and growing. And I have not looked back since.
Did you do anything different on that one video than your other videos? Like, was there a certain hashtag you did or anything like that? Or do you genuinely just think it was you were being authentic and the algorithm just pushed it?
I think it was honestly because I was very unfiltered. I think that's what it was, because not that I'm fake in all of my other videos, but I
Mhm.
try to keep it positive. I try
Yeah.
to keep it light. I try to hide a lot of negative opinions.
Mhm.
With that video, it was no filter, no holds barred. This is how I feel, and it sucks. And I think that raw authenticity, it just got so much engagement that it just started blowing up outside of my circle of followers. And I think also something about that video was it was a little controversial. People had strong opinions about it. And really, what lets you grow on social media is that engagement. So people start fighting each other in the comments. And at this point, it's not even about me anymore. It's about what these people who are seeing this video think about it. I think that's what it was. It was allowing myself to be a little controversial and not hiding anything, not feeling like I need to hide under this layer of positivity and not making anyone upset.
Yeah, being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
I find it so funny too that it's your dating stuff that took off, where it's just like you chatting to the camera. And you thought it was going to be these like curated fashion makeup videos, but what the audience really wanted was just Liz, just you being authentic.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think we're craving that authenticity on social media these days.
I think so too. I think people are a little fed up with the super filtered IG models. Like, it's all about New York Fashion Week. It's all about like the gifts that Chanel sent you, like the PR stuff. Like, you know, I like that stuff. I watch that stuff. It can't be everything. It can't be everything you see.
Okay, so I'm curious. I think social media can be kind of a controversial thing for actors. Liz, do you hear that?
Yeah.
It's time for Mixed Feelings Minute. For this Mixed Feelings Minute, I want us to talk about social media.
Okay.
Because I think that sometimes people are like, no, you can't have a social media following and be a serious actor. And I want to hear your take on that as somebody who's especially really recently growing on social media. How do you feel?
I think that's all fake. That's not true. You absolutely can and should have a serious social media following as an actor. And to be honest, I think that a lot of the hate that people who do social media get, it's really more about hating women. I think people, when they think about being an influencer, they think about women. And the reason why maybe social media influencers aren't taken as seriously when it comes to acting is because it's a lot of women. There are so many actors who are men who try to make it as fitness influencers, as even acting influencers, like, you know, things like that, like cars and travel and things like that. Nobody ever tells them, like, oh, you can't be an actor, but also, you know, film yourself doing push-ups and putting it on Instagram. I had an old acting teacher who does that. It's like it's only targeted towards women who talk about maybe makeup or dating or vlogs or things like that. It's just not true. And I think nowadays, like, not to get too much into the parasocial relationship stuff, but it can be cool to see the authentic sides of celebrity and actors. And like, I think that can be a huge asset to you as an actor, is having people know a little bit about you. It can also come back to bite you in the ass. Let's say you post something that is, you know, flawed, that's offensive, like some of your old views from years ago. That's when it comes back to bite you. But if you're smart about it and you're posting things that are authentic to you, like, I can't see how that should make anybody take you any less seriously. I think that take is so rooted in sexism.
I think social media is beneficial as long as you're being authentic and showing your personality. I think that's what it comes down to. I think when you're doing something just to go viral, I think that's when it gets a little like, and then usually it doesn't go viral because we can kind of see through that. So I think as an actor, if you're just doing stuff because you want to go viral or be famous, I think if you're posting content that's true to you, that shows your personality, how would that harm your career? It should only benefit your career. And anybody who's making comments about it is not even worth your time. So,
and you can always, there are a lot of actors, like I think I read an interview with Io Debris who mentioned that she very recently deleted her Twitter. She is a comedian turned extremely successful actress who, it's kind of like what we were talking about. She broke into a lot of the drama and she is just elevated on another level. And she did an interview where she was like, you know what, this stuff that I was doing before the social media was cool for me, but now I think it would benefit my acting if people knew a little less about me. And so she deleted her stuff. I think that's great. You know, it doesn't have to be there forever. If you eventually get to a level where you want to be a little more mysterious, delete it. Like, people will understand why. It's just a move. Just like having social media is a move, not having it in the future when you've made it can also be a move.
That is such a good point. I want to back that up. I think yes, especially when you're a working actor, still getting your name out there and building credits, it's even more important to utilize social media.
Yeah.
But you're right. Once you get to a certain point, it's like
Right.
it's
You
not
don't
as
need
important
it.
how many
Yeah.
followers you have.
Yeah.
Although I will say, and I'll insert this clip in here, I saw a interview on Variety between Elle Fanning and Jenna Ortega, and Elle Fanning was describing how she lost a role once because she didn't have enough Instagram followers. And I was like, oh my god, if having a following matters for celebrities like Elle Fanning, how much more does it matter for us?
Because but I didn't get a part once for something big.
Okay.
Because, and hey, it might not have just been this reason, but this was the feedback that I heard, was because I didn't have enough Instagram followers at the time.
Yeah, you can hate on, you can be like, oh, it's so dumb, like I'm not gonna have a following, whatever, but it does matter, so you might as well just suck it up and adapt, because you can sit there and complain about it, or you can do what you did, start posting authentically, having a positive mindset about it, and watch what happens from there. I think too, as actors, we like to create, we like to be in front of the camera. Why wouldn't you utilize social media and make it fun for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I feel so stupid. I complained about it for years. For years, I would be like, this is so stupid. It should just be about my acting. Like, why does it matter? And like, technically that's true. It should just be about your acting. Yeah. The reality is it's not. And my biggest regret with social media is honestly just not starting it sooner. I really like, with how much fun I'm having now, I'm just really thinking like, damn, what would have happened? Where would I be now if I had started 2 years ago? When TikTok first came out. Like, it's a shame, it's lost time, but I'm just happy I got in now and I'm not wasting time anymore.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's also so important as an actor too to have other creative outlets like outside of acting, and that's such a fun little thing. It's like content creation is a beautiful way to have fun creatively.
Yeah, it is. And what's so interesting is that it really does put your name out there as an actor, even just with like fans. Like my friend messaged me and he was like, why is your IMDb ranking so high? And he had texted me like a screenshot, and I was in like the top maybe like 100,000 or something. And I was like, that's so weird, I don't know. And I have my link tree in my TikTok bio. I went to Linktree and I was like, oh my god, hundreds of people are clicking on my IMDb right now. It's really just so good for getting your name out there. And my followers will be like, what can I see you in? Like, keep us posted. Like, I even got recognized. I'm on an audio drama called Who Killed Alaska. I had somebody in my TikTok comments the other day being like, wait, do you play Emma in Who Killed Alaska? And I was like, yeah, I do. Like, it all comes together.
What are some things that you do to take care of yourself? Because as an actor, we are our businesses, and then also as a social media creator, it's the same thing where you're constantly putting yourself out there. So what are some things you do to fill your cup up?
I mean, the hardest thing that I really try to do is putting my phone down sometimes. Sometimes you really have to. Like, I just have such a bad habit of like checking my notifications too much, or of even just scrolling for entertainment, things like that. It really helps to just put it away. I also love going to the movies by myself. Okay. I love it. I do it like once a week. It's so energizing, obviously, to see a great film, but also to just kind of like, you know, I have nothing better to do. I don't have any plans. How about instead of sitting at home on my phone, I throw on some leggings and a sweater and go see a movie and have like a little night out by myself. I love doing that. Yeah. And I mean, besides that, food. I love food, cooking, and also just going out to eat with a friend. Like, that really fills me up. That makes me so, so happy to do that.
Yeah, I love that. And then I have one more question for you before our Fast Frisky 5.
Okay.
If you could give any advice to young Liz, let's say right after you graduated college and we're moving back here to kind of pursue acting, what is something you would tell her to prepare her for the last 3 years?
I would say don't worry so much about being cringe. Don't worry about being cringe. I really wish it's something that I so struggle with so much, is like how I come off to other people. And for a long time, I really held myself back from opportunities. Like, even doing stand-up, before I started, I had wanted to do stand-up for years, and I had never done it because I was like, oh, is this going to be cringe? Like, are people going to make fun of me? Like, literally, who cares? I wish I had not worried about that so much. Like, it's really a common theme with me with the social media and the stand-up and even acting in general. I waited too long because I was afraid of being embarrassed. And really, it's never been a problem. All those people who I thought were going to make fun of me have been nothing but supportive, and they always show up for me. I've never, ever had a negative experience of somebody I know and love being like, this was embarrassing. I can't believe you're doing this. It just doesn't happen as much as you think it does.
It doesn't. And also, like, just as focused as we are on ourselves, everybody's like that. They're so much more focused on themselves. Even if they do think it's cringe, they think that for about 5 seconds and then they move on to the next.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, it's so funny. You'll find when you create this stuff, usually people are supportive, especially the people that matter. So,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for our fast frisky 5?
Let's do it.
All right. Favorite quote?
Oh my God. My favorite quote is, oh my God. It's something I was just thinking about with Anna Kendrick. It's related to dating. She said, never date the guy who takes his hands off the steering wheel.
Oh,
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 2. Something in LA not a lot of people know about.
Oh,
A place in LA.
I think, okay, I've been telling this to so many people. Not enough people know about Edda in Culver City.
Never heard of it.
It's a restaurant that's originally from Chicago, but it's an Italian restaurant. It came to LA maybe in the last like 5 years. Delicious. It's the best restaurant in LA. Every friend I've taken there has been like, I'm obsessed with this. It's my favorite restaurant in LA.
Love. Okay. Question number 3. What's your favorite line in a movie? You kind of just gave one, but
Oh no, I have another. I have
Okay.
such another good one. It's, sorry, my Prada's at the cleaners, along with my hoodie and my you flip-flops, you pretentious.
I love it. She
Yeah.
acted it out for us too. That was beautiful. Question number 4. Pickles, yay or nay?
Oh, yay.
Okay.
Yay.
Love. That's the right
Yeah.
answer. And question number 5. A recent obsession of yours. Product, food, anything.
Ooh, a recent obsession has been it's what I'm wearing, satin skirts.
Okay.
I've been obsessed with the maxi skirt trend. I have maybe like 5, and they're all I wear.
Love. They're
Yeah.
cute. They're comfy.
Yeah, they're
All the
stretchy.
things.
Yeah.
All right, Liz. Anything you want to leave our Acting Like an Actor podcast friends with?
I just hope you have a really great time in this season of your life. Like, don't feel jealous. You're going to have a lot of friends who are experiencing more success than you in the current moment, but like, don't feel jealous. That's not a productive emotion to get out of that. Cheer them on when they get a booking, when they maybe get to quit their day job because they're having so much success. Typically, if that kind of thing is happening to the people around you, it means that you're on the right track and you'll
Yeah.
probably get the same thing soon.
Yeah, somebody's win is not your loss.
Yes,
So, yeah,
yes.
if the people around you are winning, yeah, your time's coming.
Yeah.
You only want everything in divine timing. You don't want to rush. You
Yes.
don't want to rush your wins.
Yes.
So, no, that's great advice.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for listening, y'all. We'll see you next time.
Thank
Bye, guys.
you.